All right, we got to give Coach his due, and we got to come in like he does. Whoop, whoop. All right, well, I'm actually testing out my new mic, and let's actually zoom in on Coach a little bit here and see. Oh, by the way, you're watching Tradecraft for Life, and it is my first broadcast with this new mic. So I hope it's not too loud. If it is, we can adjust it. All right, we're going to cut out his chat. I don't want his chat here. So it does look like it's a very similar mic. And I did look at getting this Rode arm right here, but I did not. I got something a little more low profile, and I might end up going to the Rode. But I do like this low profile one I got because it allows me to actually connect to the desk. I've looked at others and they didn't connect as well to my desk. So anyways, we're going to review some of Coach's stuff here. And I'm going to get something set up while I let this play for a minute. And then we'll come back into it. I got to do a little bit with the mic.
A minute late, I just have to go to the washroom. I always psych myself up and I go, if I don't go now, what's going to happen? And then I go,
check out my new content. I have a
especially
lot.
when you're getting that 40, you got to check. You got to make sure.
I have a few new videos out this week for some new content.
You know what I was watching before I even
started? And a lot in the works. I just wanted to do this real quick before I dive into some other videos I got planned for today.
Where are you from? Where are you from, bro? You from Dominican Republic? I'm kidding. They like black people over there. They're not black, but they love black people. That's just a known thing. So we got a whole bunch going on here today, guys. There is a lot of tabs open. I think I got like 30 tabs open right now. So we're just going to be...
Let me mute my mic for you.
Somebody said that they were from Trinidad and Tobago. I saw that right at the beginning. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Audio's low. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You know why? Here's why I don't believe you, okay? This is why I don't believe you at all. And also, is your volume at 30%? One of my friends did that to me. Anyway, you know I can see the episodes after. Saw somebody just entered in as part of the Mint Daddy crew. Who is that? That's TK419. Barrington. Let's go. Is that what we call people who are fans of Baron now? We call them Barringtons? The Baronites? Is that what we're calling them? I'm in 100%. Now, we're going to get into it. A lot of you guys don't know the war that's raging over Candace Owens. Of course, all of the cowards, they decide, it's time for me to make a video. Is Candace off? Oh, I got to address what Candace has said to me. One of them is Graham Allen. He is a very funny guy.
I did a video on Baron exposing his background, FYI. I would just be careful of any information coming out from Baron.
The rabbi who was with Josh Hammer in that last phone call with Charlie Kirk, he actually has a little bit to say about what Candace had to say about him. Of course, he waits. Balix Tones, of course, he waits. He has something to say now. They all wait until she's not there. We're going to...
Did I have that pause the whole time? Well, okay, we're going to have to cut that then. Okay, so anyways, the video that I have is about Baron and his background. Not to say that you should or shouldn't trust the information coming out from him. Is what you need to do is vet it. That means investigate it, make sure it's true, and so on. But I wouldn't list that. I wouldn't... Let me figure out how I'm trying to say this. I wouldn't say that just about Baron. I would say that about everybody. I would say that about Candace, and I have said that about Candace. I would even say that about Coach. However, I like Coach over the majority of them. That's kind of why I like to clip into a lot of his content, because he puts out better content than they do. Maybe it's not as theatrical and clean cut as some of theirs, but he's better overall. That's why I like clipping into his stuff. So, and anything I say about Coach is in a joking manner, of course. So, but with anybody, vet their information, vet the information that you get from me. And that's what I go over. I teach you guys the importance of how to do it. And then I also dive into the human psyche and a bunch of stuff like that. It's just kind of a wide variety of different stuff.
Address Trigger Smart's video, Baron actually released something that I found very interesting. And looking at the picture that he released, I kind of saw a similarity between the picture that he showed and the picture of Tyler at the staircase, quote unquote Tyler. Then we're just going to show you all the freaks who are in the redacted files. We're just gonna touch on that. Zorro Ranch, big development on Zorro Ranch. Some wild stuff has taken place. That place is getting the attention that Don Huff guy did not want the place to get. He did not want this type of attention coming his way, and he got it. He got it. You know, that's why he's even in my thumbnail. I mean, just making bone stew. Come on, what? Seguana.
So if that's the guy that owns the majority of that property on the Zorro Ranch, I have not verified this yet, but I did hear this on Redacted, so I want to share this with you. Is the guy that bought the majority of the Zorro Ranch, because they split it up into different sections when they sold it off. The guy that bought the majority of that ranch, he was asking and inviting the Bureau and all the other different police agencies to come out and do that. So unless Coach brings out some new information, that's what I heard on Redacted. Again, I haven't vetted it either way. I haven't seen if it's true one way or the other. However, I know Redacted's pretty solid on the sources that they lead with all their information. So they're pretty good on their sources. I wouldn't say they're perfect. Again, I still go through sessions of vetting them throughout the year, because you have to do it with everybody. It doesn't matter if you trust them. You have to continuously vet your sources of information for validity, truthfulness, and accuracy. It's a part of the game. And if you're not doing it, you're going to get duped somewhere and you're going to lose on the information front.
That's Iguana Man. Hey, never seen an iguana that color before. Anyway, let's jump over here to the Graham Allen stuff, because he has a serious announcement, guys. It's very, very serious. It's very, very tense. And then, of course, we're going to read the super chats and everything like that. But let's jump in right now. I can't wait to talk about those files. I got to say, I won't say I like talking about them, but I like expanding past the Charlie Kirk investigation. And this is a very big thing. And there's just more and more developments day after day. And we really have to talk about it until somebody has their hands behind their back. When is that happening? When do the hands get behind the back? I don't know. I really don't know. But let's play this clown first.
Why am I doing this? Because there's a lot of people that I have shared the stage with, that I have fought for this country and our faith for a decade, that have remained silent. While Erica is attacked, while Charlie's children are attacked, while this woman tries to single-handedly tear down everything that my friend Charlie stood for, you remain silent in cowardice. And that's okay, I understand, because as we'll show the audience here in a minute, this is why you're afraid. And maybe some of you have skeletons that you don't want Candace Owens to find out about. Okay, fine.
Sprint prints everything to get your brand in front of your fans, like t-shirts, water bottles, and totes, so everyone can gift it, work in it, and take it. Whether it's one of a kind or one for your whole team, if you need it, we print it with 20%
bullets, like Candace Owens is Rambo, like she's John Wick. Like it's Candace Wick, and if he says something, she's gonna come through his door.
We're gonna rewind that for you, because I apologize. I had it.
Then so be it.
I'm not in my ad-free account.
Bullets, like Candace Owens.
I gotta take the audience here in a minute. This is why you're afraid. And maybe some of you have skeletons that you don't want Candace Owens to find out about. Okay, fine. If I gotta take the bullets, I will. If this ends my career, then so be it. But if it sparks,
take the bullets, like Candace Owens is Rambo, like she's John Wick.
Let's pause that. Too many people care what other people think about them. Dude, don't care. Who really gives a rat's ass? It's nice when people like you, but we live in a world with billions of people. I'm not going to go into the actual population numbers, because who knows what the truth is on that. That's a rabbit hole. But we live in a world with billions of people. You know how many of them are not going to like you? A lot of them. More than you would want if you actually were to tally the numbers. And you just got to get over that. You can't be liked by everybody. It's just the name of the game. So be yourself. Go live how you need to live. And be happy.
Like it's Candace Wick. And if he says something, she's going to come through his door. There's going to be no one that could stop her whatsoever. Hair just all scraggly, just firearms everywhere like Neo in the Matrix. Come on, man.
Others to start combating her obvious vindictive, evil agenda and her obvious lies. And it was well worth it.
His career is going to end. If this ends my career, if my wife doesn't hear from me in 24 hours, somebody tell her that I loved her. Oh, God. Because I have such a nuclear firebomb, truth bomb to drop on you guys about Candace. Just snot bubbles, you know? Just snot all over the mustache, right? I'm trying to inspire people to also go after Candace. This is my valiant, noble effort to inspire people. You understand? Project Mockingbird never died. I am a part of it in the YouTube sphere, and I am trying to get people to do the Mockingbird to what I am doing. That is what's happening here. If I have to take the bullets, what are you talking about? Now, the reason that he said this, there was a good reason, because he has a truth bomb that is going to end Candace. This is a thermal nuclear firebomb truth bomb, okay? The type of thing that Philadelphia takes and just drops on that other
Let's
place.
hear
You
it.
know what place I'm talking about. They just level that other place with nuclear, thermal, firestorm truth bombs like Graham is about to drop right now. Listen to this. I mean, it's over for Candace, guys. Who's going to replace her?
The responses to the allegations, but now I feel that it is time to just tell the truth, right? That's what Candace Owens says all the time. It's time to tell the truth. It's time to let the cat out of the bag. And here's the truth that no one has ever wanted to say for the entirety of the past decade, and that is Candace Owens this is the biggest kept secret inside the conservative movement. Candace Owens has been the biggest thorn in the side, diva, absolute nightmare wrecking ball to the entire conservative movement behind the scenes for the past decade. That's the truth. That's the truth. Anyone who's not on record.
If a podcaster is able to do that, that means you had a weak party to begin with. And it's not the podcasters doing it. It's literally the party itself. Because the party is weak and it's feeble and it's doing everything to lose all its support. It's seemingly almost on purpose.
In front of a camera, they'll tell you the truth. Every single person that has ever worked with Candace Owens that's not still being paid by Candace Owens or has been paid by Candace Owens,
that light's a little better.
She's horrible.
That's it. That's it. That was the big thing he was building up to. He's like, I got to tell you guys don't understand. Nobody wants to say this. Nobody. Except for Tim Pool.
And this mic is brand new. I got it actually this morning. Finally came in. So I will have to go back and listen to this and make sure I'm not breathing into it. I did turn it up all the way so I can kind of lean back a little bit and hopefully get some good sound. Everything else I've been doing is on my DJI and some really shoddy audio stuff before that. But I fixed it and hopefully we can move forward with some good sound and some decent video. I'll have to upgrade my camera next.
Because he said this about 5 weeks ago. And there's Ben Shapiro, a bunch of other people said the exact same thing, but I'm dropping the truth bomb that nobody wants to say. People don't like Candace, okay? Unless you work with her and you like her, people don't like her, okay? Unless you're working with her or you've been a friend to her, she's been a friend to you, friends and family, colleagues that really like her. Other than that, people don't like her. Is it just people from Philadelphia and Philadelphia adjacent that don't like her? The Zio Philadelphians? Is that?
I'll have to see what I can pull up online because now people are starting to. This is where I'm going to defend Candace because I think it's a bunch of crap. I will poke at her on some stuff about some information and the way she drops it from time to time. But that's just holding each other accountable. But now some people on X have come out and called her a DEI hire and all that stuff. Like, it's so stupid because everybody at some point has to get hired for something and some reason. She's not. That's all I'm going to say on that. She's not.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I just made that word up. Zio Philadelphians. You guys know what I mean. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. And people will tell you. People will tell you unless if they're off record and there's no cameras, they'll tell you. Okay. And I know that you're the audience and you only see people who are on camera and on record. But the worst. He's the worst. This guy's worse than Gary. Because at least when you see Gary do it, you're like, well, Gary's dumb. You know. He's curly. It's fine. This guy has no excuse. You're just being curly by yourself. At least Gary has two other stooges with him all the time. He's Erica and Andrew all the time. So it's cool when he does it. I'm like, oh wow, look at Gary. Gary, he's a great guy. I think he's a fantastic guy. Guy's jacked. Good beard on him. You know, full beard, right? Ginger. So no soul, but strong gingers. You know how they are, right? This guy, he's just being curly on his own. What are we talking about here? You be curly by yourself? That's nonsense. Who's giving you the? Who are you poking yourself in the eyes? You're spinning around in a room, just go whoop, 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 all alone. What? This guy's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Sure, he's a great guy though. I always like to end it like that. I'm sure he's a fantastic guy. Oh, but there's more. Somebody shared this with me. And then I was like, oh, that Project Mockingbird joke was actually on point. Graham Allen, conservative podcaster and Army veteran, thank you for your service, sir, from Caledonia, has been appointed as the director of digital media at the Department of Defense. It's literally Project Mockingbird. He is the Mockingbird. Or he's at least a few feathers on the Mockingbird. You know, maybe he's not the whole bird. He's not really that good at what he does. He's at least a few feathers. He's at least the beak, you know? Now, the beak's pretty important. So he's like the tail feathers, whatever. You guys know what I mean. Absolutely wild to see that. What just tripped me right out. And I was like, this guy's talking about addressing Candace. I'm like, Candace didn't say anything about this guy. I'm like, I watched the episodes like you watched the episode. Candace didn't say anything about this dude. Yeah, she brought him up one time, but it's only because of things he said about her, calling her evil and demonic. I mean, so clearly, you know, I shouldn't even make this assumption. You know, Baron says you don't want to judge somebody else's Christianity, but here I go. Clearly not a Christian guy. Like, clearly doesn't care about, clearly cares more about, and listen, Department of Defense, and clearly cares more about Philadelphia. Just putting it out there. I mean, very clear. But here's the thing. Candace actually did say something about it. Sorry, Graham. I kind of went at you saying she didn't say anything about you. She kind of said something about you, okay? And he's going to tell us what she said. Check this out.
Keep your young.
This bugs me beyond belief. I wouldn't say that Graham Allen is or isn't a Christian. First of all, that's not my decision to make. To his salvation and so on. So stuff like that's just a stupid thing to say. I will disagree with you on that one, Coach. Is he doing stuff in a way that we don't see the way Christians should do? Potentially, but why have we created a certain way that Christians should be in our society? Yes, there's certain stuff we should be that is biblical, but everything else is literally just subjection. Because we all see this world differently through our two own eye holes. You can never see things through your eyes the same exact way as anybody on this earth, or as anybody has in history. You hold the single unique structure to your own point of view that the world has ever seen. There might be people in history that are very close, like really close. And that person actually might be alive right now and might be a really good person to go out and maybe be in a relationship or whatnot with. But you're still never going to see everything eye to eye. You're going to see things differently. Even if you lined up, let's say 99.9% completely on a lot of ideas, you still see it differently. So we have to remember that everybody sees everything differently. It's so easy to think, well, okay, they just need to see it my way. Well, they're never gonna. Well, they need to see it more specifically. They need to be closer to the way I see it. Still, you're never going to get that. Just like you're never going to change that person. They're only going to ever change themselves. If they choose to. You get what you get with people. Can you influence stuff? Possibly. I'd say that's even more of a fake thing than we lead on about that as well. But let's get back to it. There's a little bit more that he'll come out with here in a second. I've only listened to like 10 minutes of this.
Kids away from Graham Allen. No joke. My belief is that no man is capable of defending stuff like this that isn't himself perverted. That right there is why so many big name people are afraid to call out Candace Owens.
That's hilarious that she said that. See, this is what I mean. When Candace is off, she's just like, I don't say what I want. What? I just want to. I'm talking. It's business. It's business. I just have to. You are a pervert. Anyway, what's going on? Yeah, let's go. I'm ready to go. I've been ready. You are a moron, and everyone can see it. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I'm fine. When she's off, she gets antsy. She's not. I'm telling you, we're not the only ones that get the withdrawal. She gets them too. Called this guy a straight up perverted. Oh my gosh, out of nowhere. But it was because he was defending the text message exchange between Erica and Jillian. As you guys all know, that text message exchange was rather weird, to put it lightly, as lightly as I can. It was off-putting, but he defended it because he has to. He's one of those guys that just has to defend everything that Turning Point does right now. And, I make jokes about Gary. Right, Gary's around Andrew, and they're doing the whole podcasting together. He's on the live streams, fine. But Graham actually was speaking at AmFest. Graham actually got a spot to speak at AmFest. He was really on the roster. So it's like, there's no incentive that we can see exchanging hands. But I will say that there's like an influence incentive. You get to be on that stage. You get to do that whole thing, and that's a pretty big thing to these guys who are really hard on the right. That's a huge thing to be on the Turning Point stage, because all of those Philadelphia donors take a look at you, and if they like the cut of your jib, buddy, you're not getting $7,000. What? Are you kidding me? You might get the BB box. You might get taken to the next level. You understand? I'm just saying. You get taken to the next level. I gotta pause for a second. I'm gonna use this for the next thumbnail. You might get taken to the next level. You might get those BB bucks. Anyway, let's keep hearing what he has to say.
I make a video
All right,
saying
we
I'm gonna
gotta
stand up for
rewind
the
that for a
widow
second.
and the orphans of Charlie Kirk.
You might get taken to the next level. Get the BB box. You might get taken to the next level. You understand?
This is where you gave me the idea, Coach, because I was going to react to you. This is where I took your thumbnail.
You might get those BB bucks. Anyway, let's keep hearing what he has to say.
Not to be a dick about it.
For a widow and the orphans of Charlie Kirk, and I call out the cowards.
I got to it before you, Coach. I got to it before you.
Graham Allen is a pedophile. No facts, no evidence, no nothing. In fact, I would argue to say that most people know that we're an adoptive family. So I've had my entire life ripped apart through investigations and everything, because any of you who have adopted a child, you can't just show up. So I would say that my background is cleaner than Candace Owens ever has been. In fact, I also hold a highest level top secret security clearance you possibly can have. My past and my background has been looked at every single stone. Can you say the same thing, Candace Owens?
I don't know, man. That's not the thing to brag about anymore. Let me tell you something. Back in 2024, 2023, you could brag about having that type of clearance. Now, when we hear you have that type of clearance, we're like, oh, you're one of those guys. Elon Musk has the highest clearance you could possibly get. You're one of those guys, huh? I don't know if he's heard the message. I don't know, because a lot of these super conservative guys, they just put their head in the sand and they're like, what files? What files? Transparency. Of course, there's nothing in there. It's just they released it because they're good people. That's all. Dan Bongino and Cash did such a good job releasing everything. That's kind of just how they think. They just put their head in the sand and just scream that, and that's it. That's how they've been handling the whole files being released. But the thing about it is, we don't really like people who have these clearances anymore, because we're seeing with the files that a lot of the people who have those type of clearances or adjacent to those type of people suck the life energy out of babies. So don't brag about it anymore. Just saying. I'm not saying he does that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, it's not a thing to brag about anymore. That's like somebody being like, I'm really good friends with Elon Musk. It's like, okay, that's pretty cool. Were you going to go to the party too? Because that's all I
Okay, we're going to break down into this. Hey, Spark. Shh. Sparky, you got to be quiet. Come here. All right, before I get into that, here, I'll show you my little dog. Come here. Daisy, come here. Come on. Okay, I guess she doesn't want to get picked up to be seen right now. They just want to go bark. Okay, so do you want to get seen, Sparky? Huh? Come on. All right, look up. Come here. All right, this is Daisy, the littlest one. She's a couple, probably 4 months old. Yeah, probably about 4 months old, maybe 5. Yep, the smallest one. She used to be half that size, surprisingly. I actually kind of wish she still was a little bit smaller, but I didn't want to get a micro dog. Maybe I would have if I could have kept it the same size that she was. She was perfect. So, still not bad now, though. Still not bad. So anyways, on this, forgive the dog's pitter-patter in the background. She's opening the blinds because she knows how to with her face. With the clearance, you were correct. There are so many upper-level government officials who are caught in the files, and they do have these clearances. The thing is a lot of times they don't get a huge investigation like normal people, like myself when I got mine. Like Graham, I would probably say, if he used to be military, so he probably went through the same channels that I did. and they dig into everything. We turn over everything, and they dig into everything. And it's pretty invasive, and they go to a lot of different things. That's why if you end up losing it or it expires and you don't have it renewed by the military, or if you're not working with a company, they say it costs a bunch of money, like 6 figures. I tend to not believe that so much. I mean, maybe it does because the government hyperinflates everything anyways. That's just what they do naturally, because it's not their money that they have to worry about. So they're just like, well, let's just hyperinflate it. So these people are happy with the contracts that they get, and it's Bob, and we like Bob. That's neither here nor there in the topic. So that's why it's important to always be working when you have it so you don't lose it. I no longer have mine. And I would have to, even with my background, that's not a background. If you were in IT a lot will even pay for it up front, but a lot of other positions in different avenues won't for some reason. I guess it's because they really like IT, and that's where they're hurting the most, that they offer that sometimes in IT. I don't know all the specifics behind it, but I thought about trying to go do some stuff. There are avenues I could take, but no longer anymore since I put myself online. But we get dug into, the soldiers do, more so than any government official. Like, when you look at the president, they're always just given, it's always given to them. The background is dug into a little bit by the public some of the times. And I'm not even saying that even before they issue it, I'm not saying they don't do a semi deep dig on them, but it's not the same as the soldiers who get them. So you can't lump people who are given the security clearances in with the soldiers who earn them, because it's completely different. It really is. I'm not saying I'm right on 100% of that, but that's pretty much the gist of it. I would like to maybe have a security specialist on someday to kind of go over and explain what they can explain, because there's a lot of stuff you can explain about it. Most of the stuff out there is unclassified. Most of it's classified because it's tactics, techniques, and procedures, or it's embarrassing to the U.S. or it would put troops, locations, and movements in jeopardy. So, but anyways, let's get back to it. So, Coach kind of digging on that. I get it. I get why you feel that way, but you feel that way because you don't understand it. So you just got to understand it. And this is something I have to get better at. It's trying to go explain too much, too deep. I don't know. If you guys like it, maybe I'll continue to do that. But a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people have zero attention span, and they just want stuff in 60 seconds or less. And it's really kind of sad because it explains a lot of stuff the way it is nowadays.
Think now. I don't care about Tesla. I don't care about those dumb robots all the time. I want to know, were you going to go to the wildest party with him?
Well, yeah, nobody ever cared about Tesla. It was a fake system put up and built.
You guys called on some kind of entity to come down, and you guys partied with that entity, and that entity just like, bring me like 6 people, and I'll make sure you guys are all trillionaires. Is that what you did? That's what I think when you tell me you're friends with Elon Musk now. And I can't help it. And we shouldn't have to help it. We shouldn't have to think, oh, that's a bad thing to think. I don't have to be charitable. You know, if you watch the show a lot, you know I use the word charitable a lot. Not anymore. It's out the window. I've been hoodwinked too many times. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not being charitable to people. People said Erica lost her kids. They say she's a lesbian now. Fine. I'm not checking it out. Fine. It all makes sense now. Cool. Fine. Okay, that's just the way it is. I'm sorry, Graham. I apologize, sir. That's just the way it is. Don't brag about that clearance anymore. I don't want to hear about it anymore. We know what's available when you have that clearance. You know what I mean? You get to look at like Project Austin, and you're like, oh, witchcraft. You're studying witchcraft to manipulate the masses. Like, it's not cool anymore, man. That's 2022.
That's not true. You don't get to look at everything. There's certain stuff that's just general information at the level that you can go look up, but for the most part, anything that has any value, it's all compartmentalized. They have, think of it this way. Think of, let's go old school in that game Minesweeper. You know how it has, the whole screen has a bazillion boxes on the screen? That's what it is. And each one of those boxes is a different compartment, and you have to have access to get into that box. Otherwise, you can't get into the box. So you don't get to go see all this stuff, and you have to be given... You can't just go venture into stuff. And then if you do, and somehow you found out a way to get into a place in a location, but you weren't supposed to be there, people are going to come and be like, hey, look, this traces right back to you. That happens in everyday life. They've even had kids before with some... Redacted talked about this the other day. About some kids that ended up getting into probably a secret portion of the FBI, maybe. And he reported it, and then he ended up getting hemmed up because he reported it, which is weird because he just found out you had to change something in the URL. And most of the time it doesn't work like that. I mean, I'm sure there are mistakes out there where it's still like that. But most of the time it's just a separate network that you have to be able to get to. But yeah, it doesn't work like that. Everything is in a different box. And for you to be able to go from your box to that box, you have to get permission to.
2022, that would have been cool. It's not cool in 2026, okay? We look at you weird. Anyway, let's keep going here, guys. That's my TED Talk. They should let me do a TED Talk just once. It would just be that for 15 minutes. Anyway, this account here, I like this account, Who Off Charlie Kirk. They're talking about Candace brings evidence to the world that Charlie was brutally slain by a powerful group of evil villains who are now engaged in laughable, ineffective cover of epic proportions. Powerful group's response, Candace...
I might actually have to check that.
Bureau. Oh, man. And that's a real thing. That's a real thing. They've made compilations of Candace saying the word bureau over and over again, and that's it. That's the response. That's how it goes. And good. Doesn't know when ice melts and can't say the word bureau. Is she?
I'm still getting used to X because I wasn't ever big on Twitter. I'm still not on Instagram. I mean, I'm on it. I'm just not big on it. I haven't created this channel on it, though. I said Twitter, Instagram. I don't do TikTok. Because when TikTok first came out, we were banned from using it on the Intel side because of everything negative about it. I'm sure it's a little safer now, but it still has heavy implications with China. So I just choose not to use it. And I'll be honest, so maybe it's because I'm old, but the easier one to navigate out of all of them is Facebook. Why wouldn't X make theirs a little bit easier? Because you have to click on the image or the post and then click the comments to go down into them. If you click the comment, it makes you reply. Like Facebook made it easy where if you click the comment, you can scroll down and review the comments or you can reply. You don't have to double click. You're making extra steps here, X. Why can't you get on this, Elon? You're supposedly making rockets that are going to outer space, and you can't figure out how to make an easy platform? I mean, come on, dude. Instagram, I think all it is just pictures. I don't really go there much because it drives me nuts because it's just pictures or videos. And you get nothing in the feed in terms of like words. Again, I don't know because I don't go there enough to tell exactly what it is. And I don't even know what TikTok looks like. I've logged in once or twice. I probably could log in right now, but I just have no desire to.
Files where they were
So
talking
call me
about
an
hearing
old
people.
man.
That's what I'm worried about. How about everybody else? That's what I think about now. I don't care. Listen, mispronounce all the words in the world. I don't care. Are you in the files 19,000 times? Okay. I'm going to talk about Peter Attia near the end of this episode. The guy has
No,
mispronounce has a
18,099.
1-month-old son. Terrible. Kid goes into cardiac arrest. And his wife is like, come home and come to the hospital. And he's like, I have important work to do with redacted Jeff. What? What? But he can pronounce the word bureau. So he's like, good? Is that how it works now? He's good. But everybody else, if Candace, you can't pronounce the word bureau. Oh, man. Oh, man. It's ridiculous. Candace then says this. Candace still going at Erica as well. And then we're going to jump over to the files. I just had to bring this update. But this person's really jumping in here. This Zach Costello. Oh, he follows me. This Zach Costello person. Costello? I don't know. But he is, it seems like he's just waking up to the whole Charlie Kirk thing. And he's showing this episode, this video where Erica.
I love you.
I mean, I knew how performative this was when it happened, but I was like, why are his hands yellow? You know? Like, why are his hands not bigger than hers? You know? That was my thing when I saw this. Right? I was like, what's going on here? Aren't his hands supposed to be massive compared?
Here's something most drivers don't know. The older your car, the cheaper your insurance should be. If your vehicle was made before 2022,
He's like 7'9", you know? Charlie, he's just huge. But seems like he just woke up to that, right? And then he said, if I die and my wife does a recording like this, my casket for social media moment, I hereby grant you permission to criticize her. But the part is that Candace commented on this guy posting this video. She said the worst part is that it wasn't her friend recording it. It was the head of fundraising at Turning Point USA. Erica did not bring a single personal friend or family member to Utah with her. There is no amount of propaganda that will ever make that normal. Mind you, the VP offered to fly people in aboard Air Force 2. Charlie's entire family flew in. Erica chose to be comforted by Stacey Sheridan recording her crying. Candace doesn't play around. I mean, Candace already has a series going out. You think Candace could just be quiet for, just a week and not comment on Erica? No. She's like, no, she's going to feel this. She's like, basically, Candace is like, I think you killed my friend, so now I'm pissed. Like, I didn't know who it was before, but now I'm looking at you. So now she's mad. Now she's really mad. Oh, man. And, I always think back to the whole Charlie was betrayed thing, the dream that she had, and it's like, I don't know. Like the left couldn't betray him. That wouldn't make any sense. And I do take dreams pretty seriously. I mean, for the most part, if you're like on a pink cloud and there's like a hippo or something like that, and then the hippo turns into a wolf and you're riding the wolf down. I don't know about dreams like that. I'm sure they mean something, but I don't know what they mean. But a dream like what she had, where he's saying someone betrayed me, look to the left and this and that. When he's saying all that, I don't know. Who else could really have a deep betrayal? I guess your friends, if you're with them all the time, your inner circle, that could be a betrayal. But a real betrayal would be your wife. Not saying that's what happened. It's just, Anyway, this guy here, he was one of the guys that was talking with Charlie, giving Charlie the talking points while Charlie was trying to figure out, while Charlie was like, basically Charlie had a meeting with this guy, Josh Hammer, and there was other people. This guy won't name who else there was, but there was other people, he says. He says there's other staff members. I would think Andrew Colvette, and then there's probably some other staff members. He mentioned staff members. And he's basically just saying his piece to this whole thing. He's like commenting on what Candace said about him and why Charlie would have this guy in a meeting like this. Like, why would he need these talking points? And this guy just says like a bunch of Fed slop. You know, it's just very interesting that the only reason I'm showing this, it's just interesting that they all activate the day, because this was just released yesterday, the day she goes and she's not going to be around online. She's not going to be making any shows. They figure that if they can talk about her early on in the week, that by the time next Monday rolls around, she'll be on to something else within the news cycle or within the cycle of the Charlie Kirk investigation. It's a very cowardly move. Very, very cowardly move. They know that this will be too old by then to actually talk about. I don't know with Candace. Candace might just be like, we're playing catch up. Next 2 days, I'm hammering everybody who was talking about me. She might just go that route. I mean, she's done it before. But But it was just very interesting to hear this guy talk about this whole thing. And, you know, I don't believe what he's saying, but, you know.
A couple times a month, and those writings are all about politics.
Crap, I did
that
that.
regularly on a number of shows in both the Christian media and the conservative space, whether it's on networks like TBN or on Steve Bannon's War Room. I appeared on the Charlie Kirk Show a number of times. I also had a show. I hosted a weekly show about Israel, the Real America's Voice Network, for about 6 months back in 2024 as a pilot. And
so he's basically just saying,
I
hey,
keep
I
turning it off.
That's why
I just talked all that stuff without any
So
sound.
he needed you because you've hosted shows and you've
Maybe I just gotta stop muting it and push it away.
Basically, he just says whatever he can to refute what Candace is saying. He also reveals that
I talked for like 5 or 10 minutes without anybody being able to hear anything.
Okay, you know, you got that. You know, that's good. But
Maybe I should pull up the comments.
Charlie did need to talk to me. He did need to talk to Josh Hammer, and it doesn't check out. I mean, everything Candace said still stands. Why reach out to these guys at all?
I'm definitely gonna have to cut this.
You know, unless there's like a little bit of a handler type relationship, and it's like, what can I say? What can't I say? But Charlie was at a point where he didn't care about what he could and could not say, and also what this guy reveals is that Charlie was getting so many questions about Philadelphia, okay? He was getting half of the questions when he would go and do like an event, half of the questions would be about Philadelphia. So if that's the case, wouldn't he already know what to say? He'd be like, well, I've done 10 shows, and they were all about Philadelphia, so I know exactly what to say, and I always know what to say, so I'm just going to say X, Y, Z. Why does he actually have to meet with these people? He's trying to steer people's minds away from the fact that what Candace said seems to be true in regards to there being some kind of damage control that they were trying to do. They were trying to reel him in. He said Candace, he said don't care about this donor, he said Tucker, he said all the trigger words that got them blink. Like, if there's a phone on BB's desk, there's a red phone on BB's desk, like a Batman phone, it was flashing as soon as he said those 3 things. He said Tucker, he said Candace, he said don't care about donors, you know what I mean? And he already said no to the BB Bucks. So I don't believe the guy, but just figured I'd bring that up to you. If you want to, you don't want to watch the video. Let's be honest. You don't want to watch it. I know you don't. That's why I didn't play much of it, because who cares, right? Anyway, Balix Tones enters the chats once again. He also waited for Candace to be on vacation. Balix Tones speaks up for Erica Kirk. He opens the conversation with Patrick Bet David. He says, Patrick goes, do you know about the Candace Owens, Erica Kirk thing? Do you know about that situation? He opens it with saying, Turning Point, you know, they had a great halftime show. I was like, wow, I really like this halftime show. I don't usually like these shows, but they did a fantastic job. Are you Andrew Colvett? Are you a spokesperson? It didn't make it. It was crazy. Then he goes on to say that the reason that Erica Kirk has been seeming so sparkly and so glittery and so pyrotechy is because, and smiling, is not because she's happy, not because she's like an emotionless person, not a psychopath like Elizabeth Lane said. No, it's because she's a theater kid. That's where we're at. That's where we're at with people defending Erica. They go, oh, she's a theater kid. You know how theater kids are. Devoid of emotion? Is that how they are? Is that what they do? They just douse themselves in sparkles and just get on with their day no matter what? My husband's dead, okay? Not to be morbid. My husband's dead. I don't know why more people don't talk about that. That was the craziest thing I've ever heard. Forget about the hats. Forget about the hats and the sales.
I'll have to see how loud those barks are when
okay, relax. Calm down.
I go over this.
Nobody even brought up him being dead. You know what I mean? She was like taking a victory lap. I don't know. Anyway, that's what Balix had to say. Then, of course, he goes on about Fort Huachuca. He starts screaming about when ice melts. Patrick Bet David then stops him and says, hey, you're not answering my question. And then Alex goes, okay, I'll answer.
I will say this. Out of having a really nice mic like this, it kind of bugs me that they make something this nice. You pay so much money for it, and it doesn't have a mute button on the mic. That would actually make things so much easier if I muted it on the mic rather than the computer.
Question. Her husband needs to step in, and she's crazy. I've looked into her eyes.
It's crazy how they don't make any of them Bluetooth at the higher price point.
He's become Chris Cuomo. Do you guys watch Trigger Smart at all? 6,000 people in the chat. I know Black Poppy. I. Anyway, yeah, I'm just a theater kid, you know. You gotta excuse me. Whenever I do something bad, whenever I do something absolutely terrible, I'm just gonna be like, hey, guys, I'm a theater kid. You know how it is. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna say I'm a theater kid, guys. Come on, you know, just come on. You guys know me. I'm just a theater kid. Come on. Anytime you get annoyed, anything that annoys you, just remember, he's a theater kid. What can he do? You know, I rob a bank. You know, he's a theater kid. He's just like probably preparing for some kind of role. You know, probably like a method actor. He probably took on method acting. You know, if I take over a 9-figure company, if I just take it over aggressively and start selling hats and instead giving people bracelets, just remember, I'm a theater kid, guys. Okay, right? Anyway, let's jump in. You guys watch Trigger Smart? I gotta call out Trigger Smart here, okay? Because he made this video talking about Erica Kirk and her handwriting versus Charlie's handwriting, okay? And it was in response to a letter that she showed Charlie wrote for Valentine's Day, right? That's what it was. This is the letter that Charlie wrote. Now, he analyzes Charlie's actual handwriting. And, hey, listen, I guess it's different, right? Like, that's the handwriting that she showed. This is like Charlie's handwriting. Oh, okay, it's a bit different. I mean,
well, this isn't a good sample. This is a terrible sample.
Maybe you don't know.
We need more of a sample.
A theater kid, man. Okay, and if she wants to forge her husband's Valentine's Day note, a note that's meant for love, a love note, if she wants to forge it,
no, I gotta go watch that video. You can't base it off of 2 words written, and that wasn't the same style of writing. He wasn't trying to write in cursive there. It doesn't look like.
You gotta give her space to say and do what she's gonna say and do. And if she wants to write letters and make them look like they're from Charlie, listen. If she wants to act,
I don't think handwriting professional would even try to analyze that with any high percentage of confidence.
Get yourself in check. Anyway, let's keep going here. Baron. Baron,
But what do I know?
ladies
I
and gentlemen,
just,
round of applause.
it's not
for
like I
Mr.
know
Baron
anything about
Coleman himself in the chat.
investigations.
I know Black Poppy. Anyway, if that annoys you, you gotta remember I'm a theater kid, right? Baron Coleman in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if he's in the
You
chat.
have to remember, and I'm not saying it invalidates everything that they're bringing out, but you have to remember, most of these people don't have an investigation background. It makes a big difference when you know a lot of stuff and what to look for and so on. And like I said, I'm not saying that you can't do it. You can go out, you can train in it, and you can teach yourself. You can really teach yourself. It's why I say this all the time. Go look at Chase Hughes. He's in the similar niche that I am. And I appreciate Chase Hughes and I like him because of this. He is self-taught. He doesn't have my background. He doesn't have my experience. But he's self-taught. He did a pretty good job. There's stuff he wouldn't be able to do because he wouldn't actually know certain levels of it. But then he also went and learned a lot of stuff with the brain and in college, in school, through some classes and stuff. So he's a good guy to listen to. I wouldn't ever say any differently about that. But his background isn't the same as a human guy's background. It's very different. Even though he pushes a lot of human intelligence stuff, he just doesn't have the background in it, which is fine. I'm not knocking on that. I'm just telling you the truth behind it. And he has said such, and that's why he comes out, and when he's introduced as a Navy chief, not an intel professional or so on. Because he can't make that claim.
He's probably busy. Probably busy writing his opening statements. It takes him 14 hours to write those opening statements. You know that? He told me 8 hours one time. I was like, what?
I don't believe this. And if it does, why does it take you 14 hours? It might take a long time to record and try to get it down perfect, but it shouldn't take you 14 hours.
I was like, I'm preparing my podcast at 9:50 before it hits 10 a.m. This guy's 8 hours. The dedication
That's
of
some
this guy is
sort of
absolutely
weird
incredible. Did a great show last night. And he touched on
flex
something. Now, I had a
that
picture
I don't
of this guy, but I
understand.
didn't know what to do with it. It wasn't coming up in anything I was talking about. But then Baron did this whole breakdown as he talks about Lance. And then I had...
If he's including research and everything into it, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I could say stuff takes me a long time, but I wouldn't, though. Again, that's why I say, man, be careful. Be careful with a lot of stuff you hear and you listen to.
A picture of Lance and Tyler. I just found it very interesting. But check out what he has to say about this. Very, very interesting stuff. Let's go.
He looks like. There's nobody in America who would say,
and I like
Tyler
Baron,
Robinson that they've seen,
even though I've done a video
shoulder-length hair,
saying, hey, just
or
be careful.
aviator sunglasses, right? Nobody would describe anybody as wearing shoulder-length hair with aviator sunglasses. So let's hear who they are looking for. If I can get this, there we go. If I can get it nailed down just right over the timestamp here. So this is, again, back to the Utah police scanner. We're switching feeds here, so it's going to look a little different on your end, but it's a scanner. So here we go. This was at 1:33 p.m. and 29 seconds. About an
I'm
hour and
waiting
10
for him
minutes
to
after
get
Big Bang.
angry and
Who is it
start
you're looking
yelling.
for? The dispatcher, please, by all means, you have the floor.
Copy male, dressed in all black, shoulder-length hair, aviator glasses, black bag, and a long gun.
So we have a male dressed in all black. Now we've added a descriptor because we had, or two descriptors. We had the dressed in all black. We had the, actually, I don't know that we've had anybody mention a long gun at this point. So now we've added a long gun. We've added a black bag. We've added aviator glasses, wherever those came from. And we've introduced hair. We've introduced hair. Unless you think.
We have introduced hair. Did he mean that to be funny? Because that's hilarious. Hair has entered the equation, ladies and gentlemen. You know? But very odd that all of a sudden they're describing him with shoulder-length hair, right? Black aviators, long gun, you know, stuff like that. Okay. That I've never heard before. But also, what he brings up is, I've never actually considered what Lance looked like because we have always had the idea that he looked like the pictures that were shown. We always had the idea that the pictures we were seeing of Lance was how Lance looked at the time of this whole thing happening. September 10th. We always think of him with that little weird hoodie with the little ears on it, little dog ears or whatever. We think of him like that. We see pictures of him where he has short hair, where he looks
It's
similar
true.
to the way Tyler looks. We always have that kind of image of him in our heads. But that could easily not be true. We don't know when any of those pictures were taken that we've seen of Lance. You know?
I think that's the only transmission dealing with hair. I will play yet another one about a minute later so that you guys can see, no, in fact, hair has become intrinsic to this. get it queued up. It's pushing in 10-second increments here, so let me let it roll for just a second before I switch over there. But keep in mind, we're listening for hair. Here we go. You ready?
Suspect, black long pants, black bag, longer hair, mid-length, skirt, sunglasses with a long gun.
All right. We have a male suspect, black long pants, black bag, longer hair, mid-length, dark aviator-style sunglasses with a long gun. As you were listening to the Fed slop narrative being spoon-fed to you, being crammed down your throat day after day, acting like this was an open and shut case and we had nothing to talk about and we're all just...
Whoa. What's that? I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an app.
Impossible.
Suspect with long hair, shoulder-length hair, mid-length hair. Does this guy look familiar to you?
Now, these are the pictures that are circulating. This is Lance. This is Lance in Texas. So apparently, you know, the FBI was very close with him. They were keeping him safe.
One thing they're not going to tell you, though, and this is often why I don't think police radio blotter is used much in the court of law, because stuff often gets thrown out there over the blotter that's incorrect, and they have to change it, and they have to adjust on the fly, and sometimes they just get stuff completely wrong because they were looking at the wrong person when they gave a description. All this stuff is taken into account. It's radio blotter. It can tell you a lot, but it can also mislead you in the wrong direction too. So it's something we have to be aware, because we don't know exactly the entire context behind a lot of this. I'm not saying any of it's true or not true, but I'm saying is you have to have this understanding about radio blotter.
You know, the way that Brian Harpole should have kept Charlie safe, like that type of safe, you know, like alive, safe. And they were protecting him, and obviously, I guess, purging him for information, you would think. Or they were like, good job, Agent Twigs. Agent Twigs, fantastic job. Listen, we're going to get you over to Texas. We already have an identity for you and everything like that. You're going to be just fine. Okay, Agent Twigs, you've done a great service. You have no idea. Tell Agent Twigs. Anyway, but this is him in Texas. This is what he looks like. How long would it take for him to grow hair like that? From September 10th, let's just say, from September 10th, I guess. You know, because we all have this image of him with his short hair. So from September 10th to now?
It would, no, you wouldn't have
so
that
the 4 days ago,
hair in
Friday?
4 or 5
You know, how long would
months.
it take for him to grow his hair like that? I guess it could be fast. Some people grow their hair really fast, but it seems like this is like his style, you know? But then what I noticed, you know, I'll play Bear for another minute, but then I noticed something in the picture that I had, because it was off of X and somebody was making a comparison.
You know who this is? This picture was taken less than a week ago. This is alleged to be Lance Twigs, photographed by the Daily Mail in Texas. That, to me, looks a lot like the description. Now, that's the Lance Twigs we've all seen. We never got to see his hair, did we? Because they always showed us Lance Twigs either in a hat or with his stupid costume on. They never one time...
What they probably did is the images that are out there probably made him look more like a child, and who knows if they did anything to alter the images. I'm just throwing it out there, because who knows what images we get that are real or fake anymore. Like, I don't even think we can definitively prove what we're seeing right now on the screen is real or not.
Showed us Lance Twigs looking
I'm
like
not
this.
saying it's fake.
This is the first.
I'm not saying, how
Lance
can
Twigs.
you prove to me it's real?
So when you look in the timeline,
It's something you always got to
Timeline
think
doesn't
about nowadays.
So I just thought that picture was like just wild, the way that he looks. And if I could just have Baron go back, the way he said that stupid costume was hilarious. In this stupid costume. Here, I just want to see that picture that he had. Let me put it on. I'm just gonna flip over to my picture really quick, but I want to see that other picture. There it is. Boom. So people were taking this picture and they were comparing it to Tyler, right? They were, you know, supposedly Tyler. We honestly don't even know, right? Love to know who this person is. You know, no, this person's never.
No, that doesn't look like
Who is
anything
this guy?
like
How come
him.
this guy has never come forward and said, "Oh, I walked by that guy in the stairwell"? How come that's never happened? You know, weird. But they're comparing it, and if you look, now it's not in the same place, right? It was just something I noticed. It's not in the same place, but it is a similar hat where they had the triangle on the hat. Now, obviously, triangles, not everybody, right? But it was just very interesting how people are comparing this. So now, is that Lance? Like, I don't think this is Lance, right? I never really did, but it kind of did look like him because we all thought that he had super short hair, the way that we saw Tyler having super short hair. But now that you hear that description from Dispatch that Baron was showing, you know, and the thing about it is, I am more inclined to believe that Dispatch audio that he played because it was fresh. It was fresh, and Cash didn't have time. Cash and Dan, Cash, Dan, and the gang didn't have time to be like, don't talk about this, don't do this, don't do that. They didn't have time to really reel those people in. When something happens, like let's say there are a bunch of people that are involved, you know, law enforcement, federal. Let's say they are all involved. This dispatch person is probably not on the payroll. They're not in on the whole thing. So they're just like, okay, this is the description. They're going about it in a very honest way because it just happened. It's kind of like, I will talk about that day. You know how
Dude, you're giving you're giving way too much credit to Cash and Dan and Pedo Protector Barbie. That you give them way too much credit. That they can go out there and you think that they can direct all this to happen in a certain way and they can control so much stuff like that. I'm not saying they can't be behind covering stuff up and so on, but there's going to be a lot more than just them involved. And once you start to get a lot of people, it starts to muddy the waters. And I'm not even saying they didn't try to push a narrative a certain way. Because I also do believe that you can have large groups of people where you push something one direction and it stays behind closed doors for a long period of time. Because we do that all the time. I mean, so to think that something like that can't happen is also crazy. Because, yeah, I hate that take that Valhalla does on that. Because Valhalla goes, well, you know, someone would come out 100% of the time. No, not necessarily. People don't come out with stuff they disagree with all the time in the military. All the time. On some crazy crap that happened. People don't come out on that. So to say that it can't happen because you have 30, 40 people who are in fear of their job or losing everything they have, like, come on. Like, Valhalla, you have to think a little bit more than that. But I'm also in agreement with you in a lot of the ways. But it's not, I think here he's given him way too much credit for, well, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. Well, I also don't think that he necessarily covered some stuff up that just is now getting released. I don't necessarily think that was ever a part of some sort of cover-up. It's just a part of not being released and the information not being publicly available. I don't think that's, in terms of a cover-up, I don't think it was there. I do think they're trying to push stuff a certain way, and there's certain stuff they definitely don't want to come out. So I think it's like a 50-50, you know? Some of the stuff, it's naturally not going to come out unless we somehow get access to it. And I do think that there is potential that there is something like a cover-up going on. To an extent. To certain stuff and certain material, yeah. And I also believe in the spiritual side that certain stuff is being pushed in a certain direction. So it's kind of a mix. It's kind of a fine bag of mix. And I don't know what's what, and it's hard to tell. I would literally have to lay it all out. I would have to get a link analysis chart and see what's going on. One thing we know is what happened to Charlie Kirk that day was not organic. That was set in motion by, you know, we have a few guesses. And I think we're pretty accurate with those guesses on who they are. And you know who they are. They're the typical ones. The typical two that we're thinking right now. The typical ones that are in the news cycle right now for a bunch of other crap too. I mean, it's not just this one event. It's many events. It's not a new thing. And to think that they can't cover it up, well, I mean, they do it all the time. So they're trained well in it. But I also wouldn't throw all these people under the bus either, because there's normal, everyday people there working who are decent people that if the reason why they weren't brought into the read on in this particular mission is because they know that person would say something if they saw something this crazy go down. You know, they make these assessments for people on every mission that they do when they bring people in. They make these assessments on who they're reading on that's common knowledge. They always do. They're always assessing who they're putting on the mission and who they're putting in charge. So you don't get leaks. So yeah, it's possible. I think this one is a tad bit of a reach. Because if he wanted to cover it up, we wouldn't have it right now. You say, well, we got it because it leaked. I'm like, no. It's just we don't have access. And for us to get access to some of the stuff, we got to do the right requests. They're not just going to go hand the stuff out. But they never do anyways. So it's not... I wouldn't say it's not nefarious in a way. There's many other nefarious things we can point out about this. But I don't think that this and the blotter on this not being released is nefarious, because it's not released typically anyways. At least the recording of it, it's all over the open airwaves anyways. So it's not hidden. It just no one's recording blotter except for them. They're the only ones recording the blotter. So then you got to request it. And if they come out and they say, well, you can't have it, well, then we're like, okay, we're on to something here. I don't know if any of that made sense. But I think it's funny because there's so much common sense that goes into a lot of this. And then there's also the stuff that you think that could happen, that might happen. And then there's also the stuff that you can overreach on. You think, well, that's way too conspiratorial. Because sometimes it is. But sometimes it's not conspiratorial enough. Because you say, well, it's not, there's no possibility of that happening at all. Well, okay, well, I never put anything in a all or nothing box. Anything can happen in this world at any given time.
We passed on the 10th, the day after, that day, the 11th, right? That day. Well, when that happened, remember that day when that happened? The reports were crazy. The reports were about explosions and this and that. And then once they reeled everybody in, all those reports went away. And you don't really find those reports anymore. They've resurfaced since, but it's kind of the same thing here. All of a sudden, this is resurfacing. Who was that person they were looking for? And why were they looking for them? How could that possibly be a thing? I don't know. And they're looking for this guy. Did they see that guy? Did they see him run off somewhere? I would love to know that. Did they see him run off? Did they see him take a shot? Did they see him lay down somewhere? They say we have Tyler running and jumping off the roof. That's what we have there. And he had something in his hand, and everybody's just like, that was a 3-foot long firearm.
So, for example, of where we can say we see a cover-up, and I don't know if we can say this yet unless we get it released with the information in the court case. And I know that sucks because it's a long wait for it, but that camera that's the zoomed out view where you could see him taking the shot, if that comes out in the court case, then I don't know, maybe for some reason they were saving that instead of releasing it. I mean, I don't know exactly how they do a lot of the stuff that they do in the system. I know I don't necessarily like the system. It's the best one when it comes to legal systems. It's the best one in the world. For the most part, there's some things that other places do a little bit better. But it is the best one in the world. But we still have so much we could fix in it. I mean, so much. And the fact that corruption's become rampant, not only in our legal system, but everywhere, it makes it hard to trust much of anything nowadays. Because that's what corruption and fraud and all that does. That's when you don't feel like people are being honest. It literally poisons everything. And it's sad too. Because I don't feel like it. I don't feel like everything is necessarily poison, but it feels like it. And you can't really move on from that until you figure out until you fix it or figure out why.
And it's like, okay, didn't look like it, but cool. Wrapped in a towel.
We're going to do a
But
little bit
doesn't
more
make sense.
and
It
then
would make more sense to leave it there. But it's just
see
very
if he has
funny.
something
It's
really
the whole thing's so stupid. The whole story. But
banger
I
to
don't know.
come
Makes
up.
you wonder about Lance there. Now, did Lance take the shot? I can't say that Lance took the shot, but it definitely sounds more like Lance. Like, I don't know.
Again, if that video comes out, we'll see.
Sorry, I should say sound. It definitely looks very odd when you have that.
If it never comes out, we could say that's part of a cover-up.
Come on, what are we talking about here? Has he always looked like this? And he looks, and in comparison to that photo where he's in that dumb costume, this guy looks like he has like an extra 20 pounds on him. Could be stress eating. I love the stress eating.
For example, a cover-up, the Epstein files. It's either a cover-up or some sort of weird game. I mean, it can be a mixture of both, too. But it's been really weird. And it just goes to show how I don't know if Congress means anything anymore. Because they pass a law, and our own agencies don't even follow the laws. And they break them all the time, and no one holds them accountable. And then people get pulled into Congress, and they get sworn in under oath, and then they lie, and nothing happens to them. So it's like nothing means anything anymore. Is that what Congress has become? Just a place to tell fairy tales? I mean, you might as well tell the whole truth because ain't nothing gonna happen to you. If you have a certain net worth, you're protected and you're fine. It feels like that the state of Congress, where it is, where nothing means much, is spreading. And I think that's what's freaking everybody out. Is that feeling of, well, it doesn't mean anything, is spreading to things that are closer to people's personal lives. And I think that freaks people out. And that people can sit in Congress for their lives, their entire life, and do nothing. Insider trade, do illegal crap all the time, and nothing ever happens to them. That's what's pissing people off. Yep. That's what's pissing people off. And you gotta not pay too much attention to it, because if you look at that stuff day in and day out, and I'm not saying don't be aware of it, absolutely be aware of it, it'll just depress you. You can't live like that. You need to go into the weeds, and you need to be able to pull yourself back up out of the weeds and go take a shower, because you have to after you look at some of that stuff. And okay, I'm aware of it, and let's hope we can push forward. But most of the public doesn't want to. They just want to say, "Blah, no, I didn't see that. No, they didn't say it on the news, so it's not true." That's the way most of our society lives. It wasn't on the news, so I didn't believe it. Or it wasn't on this YouTube channel, so I don't believe it. Because it wasn't on YouTube and a news station, it's a conspiracy. And people don't even know the origins of that term. They don't know everything behind it. And the agency placed that word, and it has played a beautiful symphony. It has played a beautiful symphony since they released it and they told you what it was. And it's been playing people ever since JFK. And they got you on it. And it's the majority of the people in our society that are still sold on it. And you know why? Because the TV and computer screen told them.
You know, I do it all the time, right? Especially since I got sober. So I get that 100% emotional eating. But I don't know. This guy, like somebody said in the comments, this guy looks manly. He looks manly. It's almost like, you know, just coming up with like a movie idea. It's almost like his job is done and he doesn't have to play around like he's a twink anymore. It's kind of what it seems like. He's like, I don't have to do that anymore. I'm not wearing cat ears anymore. I just had to get Tyler. You know, Lance is just Tyler's Erica Kirk. You ever think of that? It's Lance Kirk. It's Lance Franzby, right? I don't know. But I just wanted to cover that. I think Barrett did a great job breaking that down. Don't know where he got all that information. Pretty wild that he was able to get that information so put together so well. But yeah, Lance has gained weight. Yeah, people are seeing it. He definitely gained weight. He looks like I won't say he looks like a man, right? There's a man of all weights, right? But he looks a little more manly, you know? Has some weight to him. Looks like he can push a person around. Before, he looked very, very soft. You know what I mean? Very, very effeminate, right? But neither here nor there. Who knows what's really happened with this Lance character? I would love to know. But now we're going to jump.
Have we done any facial rec to make sure that picture that we have before and the current pictures is actually the same person but fatter? We have facial recognition software.
Over to the files, ladies and gentlemen. We have to discuss these psychopaths and all of the psychopathic things that they are doing. Now, I just want to start it off with this. Okay, I have to start it off with this guy. This guy's the CEO of Palantir. Now, he wasn't in the files or anything like that. You know what?
I mean, I don't care that much. I do until we figure out which direction we're going. And that's why I released the stuff on the Fort Huachuca. I was like, okay, if there's something at Fort Huachuca, I'm interested and willing to go that direction. I'm willing to go any direction it takes us. But we're going down rabbit holes that don't. And you pull. This is how an investigation works. You pull on every string, and then if you don't see any fruit coming out of the string, yes, you pull the rest of the string out, but you don't let that lead your main investigation. And the problem is people don't know how to investigate. So when you release that to people in the public, they're going in 5 different directions, and when the investigation is going in one, and they don't know what to do with it, and it confuses them. So that's why if you're reporting all this, you can report it and say, hey, this needs to be put into a box for later until we can figure out if it's connected in any meaningful way. But they don't do that to you because they're here to play a show so they get views and money and popularity.
I don't know that for sure. But I only wanted to play this because he's just so outrageous in the things that he says. CEO of Palantir, right next to Peter Thiel, right? He's part of that clique. He's part of the Antichrist clique, you know? They have a good time. I'm sure they have great parties, right? Anyway.
Why I say it all feels like theater, because most of it is.
Well, I love the idea.
And they all have acting training.
Urine spraying on analysts who try to.
Most of them.
Why does it have to be urine? That's the real question, okay? That's the real question. Why does it have... You already got the fent on it, right? That's enough. That does enough to a person once it's on them, okay? Once it's on them, around them, that does enough. It has to be urine as well. Why? This is how these elites think. This is how they think. They're nuts. American Psycho was a documentary. It wasn't a cool movie. It was a documentary. It was a warning. So you understood who these people were. It goes right. It butts up really nicely. A lot of people don't think of this. It butts up very nicely to Eyes Wide Shut. You ever think of that? American Psycho? Like, where do you think that guy went to party? Right? He was shouting Fidelio in front of some wildly huge mansion. He's like, Fidelio, I got my business card. You want to see it? Fidelio, let me in. That's where he was partying for sure. I mean, Christian Bale, right? I've watched half of that movie. I have to admit, you guys know what this is, right? I watched half of that movie, like, with this, and I had to stop watching it. I had to stop watching that movie immediately. But this is the CEO of Palantir, and that's what he would like to do if he could. I guess we all have thoughts like this, right? But we don't say them in front of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. We don't do that. Not really. But, anyway, moving on to another elite. I think these guys, like, imagine this nightmare blunt rotation. This guy talking about fent and urine. This guy here, just obsessed with money, probably all sorts of sick things.
You ready? Thumbs up back there? Thumbs up from everyone, okay? Well, I'm Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. I'm back. Fine point of where we're at as a world regarding
another dude who's gonna die in the halls of our government because he's lived there his entire life,
come here every 2 weeks where I need to or not.
And we've yet to kick him out.
What'd you say?
Who knows if he's actually been kicked out, but the voting systems go his way. By the way, that Dominion stuff was a thing 5-6 years ago. The information that they've put out, well, they've stopped putting out, and they said they were going to investigate it more. None of that information was new.
Every 2 weeks, this guy goes to Philadelphia every 2 weeks. I mean, just how is he not in the files? I thought for sure
It just got made public, and it bugs me
100% if anybody was going to be in the files 10,000 times, I thought it was going to be Lindsey Graham.
because people don't listen
You know why? He's not really
unless they see.
You know, he probably met Jeff one time, redacted Jeff just one time, and he's just like, "Hey, I heard you have a whole bunch of money, okay?" And I was just wondering what we have to do to part you with some of that money.
Unless they see something
now,
they
this is a big ask,
understand.
okay? And I like to ask everybody this question: will you give me $1 million? I ask everybody this question: will you give me $1 million? I really need the money. You understand? You understand? I love the money. I mean, it's just people think I like guys. I just like money. I don't really care where it comes from. Okay? Does like guys, you know? Just a weird guy. Taxpayer money, you know? And you know this guy doesn't fly.
Everything's hidden in plain sight.
I had to bring that up. When I saw that, I was like, what's going on?
You just got to dig for it.
Every 2
Dig,
weeks.
dig, dig.
That's a long time. You don't stay there for 10 hours. That's a long time. Doesn't fly economy. Flies private. You think he's using his own money? You think Lindsey Graham, money-grubbing Lindsey Graham, is spending his own money to go to Philadelphia
No.
every 2 weeks?
No.
Jeez.
It's all
Listen,
our
I don't wanna say
money.
anything about anybody, but I always heard that these people understand money really well, and I just love money. So I was just hoping I could sit down with y'all, because over where we are,
Coach, you got this wrong. They don't understand money really well. They have people around them who do. That's the difference. If we had those same people, we would probably be thriving.
y'all are the best accountants. So I figured if I came here, y'all would be even better accountants. I'm just trying to get some money, okay? We sent you $18 billion this year. I'm just wondering, okay? Let's not mention the president at all in this conversation. I'm just wondering if I could have $1 billion. I just need to taste 10 figures just one time. You understand? I'll help you go to war. I'll always help you go to war. I love the people at Raytheon. I love Lockheed Martin. You have no idea how much money they've given me. I'll help you go to war with whoever. You want to go to war with Rwanda?
He's
go to war with
2026's Dick Cheney.
I'll figure out a war with Rwanda for you if you need one. You see what I did with Ukraine? You saw what I did with Ukraine, right?
It's actually true though.
That's how that goes, right? You guys want any money? Hey, y'all gonna go and just bathe in some money right now? Anybody want to go and just splash around in money like we're Scrooge McDuck? Nobody? Okay, well, I'll be back in 2 weeks, y'all. What? Lindsey Graham, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, let's get to this guy. Jump scare for you. Anyway, a great thing has happened with the Zorro Ranch, apparently. So I told you guys about this guy. His name's Don Huffins. He's supported.
We'll finish Zorro Ranch and then I'm done.
They are pushing for him to be in that position in Texas. And apparently there is some, there's some incentives to Turning Point wanting that type of thing from this guy, wanting him to be in that position. Now, of course, I told you that this guy's not going to help the authorities. He is for sure just making bones stew. If there's any bones to be had, he has them, and he is just adding salt and pepper and maybe just a little bit of cumin because his wife likes cumin, right? And they're probably adding some onions, and there's probably some green onions, right? Because they don't like the red onions because they're a little too strong, so they like the green ones because those cook up a lot better, right? That's the.
You can tell they're both alcoholics just from their faces. You can see it on people. Not everybody shows it, but a lot do. And there is the rare cases where sometimes the rosacea, however you say it, is natural, but most of the time it's from alcohol.
Kind of thing we're doing, and they add just a little bit of, I'm not even going there. I was gonna
And
go
I would
real bad.
venture to
Anyway,
guess
there was
that
a guy
in
who was
this
like, hey, I didn't pay
case.
for the excavation. It's said to be that there is
Probably
illegal
wine.
possibly inside of the ground of the property that you've bought. Now, let's just hear a little bit about this guy and his purchase, and then we're going to hear his response because he's been forced to respond. He's been forced to respond because lawmakers have actually been looking into getting his property excavated, and he may not have a choice in the matter at this point. So let's listen to this, and then we're going to listen to Don lie about something.
So I told you what I heard on Redacted. The guy who bought the biggest portion, they said, was willing for this. Again, this is another count that's from a different side, which is good to hear.
And then we're going to confirm that he lied via Sarah Fields. Let's go.
So remember the guy running for Texas Controller who bought Jeff's Ranch? Yeah, it got worse. Shout out to Bethany Blankley at the Center Square for digging deeper. Now, this wasn't just Don Huffines buying a property. His wife, Mary Catherine, is listed as trustee, and his son, Colin, is the LLC manager. And that LLC created 1 month before the purchase. A brand new shell company in a state that allows anonymous ownership, built specifically to buy the property victims called the House on the Hill. And then they renamed it. Changed Zorro Ranch to Rancho de San Rafael. Changed the address from 49 Zorro Ranch Road to 49 Rancho San Rafael Road. New LLC, new name, new address. Almost like they didn't want anyone to know. And it worked. Until reporters at the Santa Fe New Mexican found it through public records. His campaign said the auction proceeds benefited his victims. But Epstein's own estate attorney said the money went to estate administration, including payment of creditors. One of those sounds noble. The other sounds like paying Epstein's bill.
Well, if you bought a house that someone was murdered in, and you could change the address and the street name, so it wouldn't be as easy for people to look up to see, like, hey, this has a bad past, wouldn't you do that? I mean, I'll give them that one because you don't want to be associated with that. And I'm not saying there's not a possible other explanation, but that's an explanation that I can actually understand.
Somebody's lying. The property was valued at $21 million. The Huffines family got it knocked down to $13 million. A $7 million tax reduction using the property's notoriety as their argument. The man wants to be Texas' chief financial officer, and his big move is haggling down the tax bill on a sex trafficking ranch. And here's the part that should make everyone uncomfortable. The ranch has never been searched as part of a criminal investigation, not under Jeff and not under Huffines. Now remember, the FBI raided all of Jeff's other properties, but never touched Joel Ranch. Right now, the New Mexico's land commissioner is calling for ground penetration radar and cadaver dogs on adjacent land. State lawmakers
Again,
are
that's
pushing
not his fault or his problem.
Calls. Now I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm just asking questions. If you're a Christian conservative businessman who made a totally innocent real estate purchase, why are you hiding it behind a shell company, renaming the property, changing the
Well, okay, the shell company's weird. We'll have to go.
and going silent while millions of files are dropping? What exactly is the upside of secrecy here? Even Greg Abbott's campaign consultant called it a sleazeball secret land deal and asked changing the address and go anything. I'm just asking questions. If you're a Christian conservative businessman who made a totally innocent real estate purchase, but here's a party
Let's
million,
go back and see what
one of those
the
sounds
shell
the other sounds like
company
paying. Paid for the auction proceeds benefited his victims, but Epstein's own estate attorney said the money went to estate administration, including payment of creditors. One of those sounds noble. The other sounds like paying Epstein's bills. Somebody's lying. The property was valued at $21 million. The Huffines family got it knocked down to $13 million. A $7 million tax reduction using the property's notoriety as their argument. The man wants to be Texas' chief financial officer, and his big move is haggling down the tax bill on a sex trafficking ranch. And here's the part that should make everyone uncomfortable. The ranch has never been searched as part of a criminal investigation, not under Jeff and not under Huffines. Now remember, the FBI raided all of Jeff's other properties, but never touched Joel Ranch. Right now, the New Mexico's land commissioner is calling for ground penetration radar and cadaver dogs on adjacent land. State lawmakers are pushing for a truth commission, and Huffines won't answer questions about why he bought it, won't return reporters' calls. Now I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm just asking questions. If you're a Christian conservative businessman who made a totally innocent real estate purchase, why are you hiding it behind a shell company, renaming the property, changing the address, and going silent while millions of files are dropping? What exactly is the upside of secrecy here? Even Greg Abbott's campaign consultant called it a sleazeball secret land deal and asked what kind of person thinks this is a good investment. Huffines is campaigning on accountability and conservative Christian values. He owns the house on the hill. He won't talk about it. Early voting starts next week for the primaries. Receipts, not speculation.
Solid. What's that guy's name? What's up, CV?
Well, okay. So maybe. Well, I wouldn't trust Greg Abbott either. He's done a lot of crappy stuff over the years. But anyways, so the shell company's weird, which I don't know if I'll dig into it. Maybe I will, just out of curiosity. But okay, I can see some of that stuff because of it being connected to that. But I will caveat this, that I don't think there's anyone... I have a hard time seeing anyone with 50 million plus not having some shadiness in their background. And I'm not saying there's not a few that exist out there, because there might be. Andy Frisella might be one of them, but I don't know his background. So he's one I might give a lot of benefit of the doubt to when it comes to that, with his wealth and all that. But with that said, he's, when you're making that kind of money, you're still screwing people over, even when you're not doing it intentionally. People are still getting screwed somewhere along the line. It just is what it is. It's a casualty of making a ton of money. But just that guy being at the level of wealth that he is, he automatically bids him a percentage of shadiness anyways. So the rest of it is interesting. I might have to go look back at what Redacted said and why they said it. Maybe they got a quote from him, but then that wouldn't be a reliable quote. I would never use that quote. I don't know.
I hope that's actually him. Yeah,
I don't have you a good answer on this one.
The nitty-gritty of what's going on with this guy, and apparently it has actually happened. Lawmakers have
Not yet.
unanimously approved. I don't want to get attacked like Candace for mispronouncing a word there. Approved 2.5 million Truth Commission with subpoena power to probe the rush hour traffic in SA at Redacted Jeff Zorro Ranch starts tomorrow.
Yeah, and I would have
emails from
tried to buy it as cheap as possible too.
2019 alleged that Redacted Jeff and Max
Wouldn't you? Just throwing that one out there.
Land Commission requested radar and cadaver dogs. It's been ignored for 7 years. Finally, some movement. Better late than never. So that's what's going to end up happening. this Truth Commission can subpoena. If they have subpoena power, possibly they can subpoena him and force him. Now, here's the thing. Don actually had to respond to this whole thing because once we get to that point, and he probably
And maybe redacted's wrong.
9:30 p.m. yesterday. So he probably got wind that this
It's okay. People can be wrong.
Hey, listen, we're doing this commission and it's not for fun and it's going to be focused on you. And if you try to stand in the way, we have subpoena power now.
I'm wrong all the time.
In this Truth Committee, the reason why that is
Welcome to the wrong tradecraft.
$1 million. So now they have more than enough. So they have more than enough to possibly have enough to dig everything up and then replace everything. And that would be the best thing in terms of being an owner of that land. If they look at you and they say, we're going to dig it up, we're also going to replace it all, it's not going to be at your expense whatsoever. But you've decided to buy a absolutely horrible place. And you knew it was a horrible place too. That's why you changed the name and the address and all that stuff. So this is kind of on you, just a little bit on you. And if you have any connection to anything that happened, I'm probably going to throw you in jail. Maybe. This is not Norway.
Wait, what did he say was on him?
Okay? Having connection to anything. We're also going to replace everything. And that is important is because they actually estimated that we have subpoenaed up because they're probably like, hey, listen, we're doing this commission and it's not for fun and it's going to be focused on you. And if you try to stand in the way, we have subpoena power now. And we have $2.5 million in this Truth Committee. The reason why that is important is because they actually estimated that excavating the entire property, just digging through everything, it would cost around $1 million. So now they have more than that. So they have more than enough to possibly have enough to dig everything up and then replace everything. And that would be the best thing in terms of being an owner of that land. If they look at you and they say, we're going to dig it up, we're also going to replace it all, it's not going to be at your expense whatsoever. But you've decided to buy a absolutely horrible place. And you knew it was a horrible place too. That's why you changed the name and the address and all that stuff. So this is kind of on you, just a little bit on you. And if you have any connection to anything that happened, I'm probably going to throw you in jail. Maybe. This is not Norway where they're prosecuting people with
No, that's not on him.
Like
I mean, it is on him that is weird and all that.
I don't know. Can't say he was. Looks like it though. So let's keep going here. So this is what he had to say. He said in 2023, after Redacted Jeff passed away, San Rafael Ranch had been listed on the open market. It's so funny he's calling it that because he changed the address, so he won't even call it the Zorro Ranch. Isn't that fun? He said it had been listed on the open market for years.
But it should be expected, yeah, for sure.
The proceeds would go to the victims. It has since been confirmed by the estate's attorney that the proceeds from the sale benefited the victims. Now, that is the lie, and potentially maybe he just doesn't know. That's what we're going to confirm right after we read this. What the enemy once meant for evil, God can redeem for good. You know, that's exactly why Turning Point likes this guy. It seems like everybody associated with Turning Point and those type of organizations, they always go towards this. They always do it. They always link up their own agenda, their own fears, their own stuff to God and the Bible.
Evil says some of the most
so many people are so turned off by it.
enlightening stuff.
Saints associated with physical and spiritual healing, and began
Seriously.
to make it as a Christian retreat, reclaiming it for Jesus. Even the new entrants will reflect that mission and will read
Evil
ones who come in the name of the Lord. Oh goodness. You know Ball.
Mimics the light way more than you would imagine.
I wouldn't accuse this face of anything. I'm just saying that's what Ball means, in case you were unaware. It just sounds creepy to me. The whole thing sounds creepy. You're gonna make it into a Christian retreat. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I like Christian retreats. I want to go on one. I'm a Christian. I just, as time goes on and we hear about all this stuff, it's like it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust anyone. It's really hard to trust the guy who buys Zorro Ranch, doesn't answer any questions about it, changes the name, doesn't say anything about it until he's forced to. When all of a sudden this committee is formed that has subpoena power, and now he's talking about it. Very, very weird. By 2024, my family's ownership was public and had been posted on social media. We've always maintained an open line of communication with local authorities. No law enforcement agency has ever approached me to request access, and I have always said unequivocally that any such request would be met with immediate access and full cooperation. This is what desperate political opponents do: last-minute lies and dirty tricks. Now, maybe he's just saying what he's doing at the end there. He's just like being real honest. This is what we do, last-minute lies.
Actually,
last-minute lie.
I could see that. I could see it both ways. Because we know how crappy Greg Abbott is. This is why I hate politics, man. This is exactly why I hate politics. It doesn't matter what side. It's all dirty. We need to take money out of it. Like, screw it. Let's just break all these positions up into a bunch of little positions, and they're just side positions that we give people to where they only have to do like 30 minutes a day, and then we break it up and give it to more people. Because everybody who we put in those positions, they just take the authority and the power and they suck. I'm not saying that's a real legitimate way to do it. I'm just thinking, I just want to fix it. And I know if there wasn't money in it, people wouldn't want to do it. That's kind of why I said it the way I said it. But it should at least be out. It should be at least you cannot use money to get elected. Everybody's given a certain percentage of money that year that they can go buy a sign and post it out for. You can buy signs, you can do a commercial, you can do this. but you can't spend more. And it has to come out of an account they can track. And we have so much technology nowadays, you could literally GPS track the actual signs. That would be something. That would be something that technology is used for good. But why use it for anything good like that? Okay, I'm just spitballing now. Let's see what he says, and then we're done.
The committee was made, and then he says all this, right? So it's such a tactic. Accuse people of what you're guilty of. That's the thing. That's the tactic. That's a Saul Alinsky tactic. You ever read the book Rules for Radicals? Check that book out. I'm telling you, you'll see so many people operating under what that book was about. Saul Alinsky, mentor to Hillary Clinton, in his first book, shouts out Lucifer. I'm not making that up. You can look it up. Anyway, let's keep going here. I'm not making it up. That's a real thing.
Well, yes, I agree with that, but also no one's gonna come out willingly before something when it's negative. When it's that negative. Think about it. Think about all the times that you've had something negative and you don't have to come out with it, and then it comes out and then you have to. It's just human nature, man. That's a natural human nature part of it.
About this part right here, when he says this, be met with full cooperation. When he says this part here, I'm like, okay, but also, if you're a Christian, right? I'm a Christian. If I bought this property, which never would, because, I could go into a whole thing about the occult. Aleister Crowley bought this place. It was called like the Balskin Ranch or something like that, and it had a lot of dark energy around it, and that was the reason that he bought it, to do dark rituals. And then he said it was too dark and too evil. And then I think it was Jimmy Page ended up buying it for the same purpose because he was an occultist. It seems like these occult types know to buy places where
they're not Christians, though.
Execute rituals on a.
That's just what they use for Christians to give them money.
Now, I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but that's what comes to mind, and that's just me. That's just the way I think. But here's the thing: why didn't you just say, "Hey guys, why don't you search this place? This place has never been searched. I just bought it. I own it. I could just not move in. I could just leave it empty."
Half the people out there,
because why wouldn't I do that?
more than half, that are influencers, and they have some sort of business around it, they're not Christians. They're there for the money. And they tell you what they are. And they memorize the scriptures.
I don't know. That's just me. Now,
So you will believe them.
This lady, some people don't like Sarah Fields. Some people do. I'm kind of indifferent myself. I just found what she was saying to be very important to what Dawn was saying.
So in 2021 and in 2022, I was highly involved in the gubernatorial race in Texas. I helped run the campaign for Chad Prather. There were 3 gubernatorial candidates. It was Chad Prather, Alan West, and Dawn Huffines. They were all running against Abbott, and the whole slogan for all 3 candidates was anyone but Abbott. I'm sure a lot of Texans will remember. We were traveling all over Texas. Towards the end, I actually became the campaign manager for Chad Prather for the gubernatorial primary. Abbott won, as you all know. But during that time, we were all very close. We were all traveling together. We were going all over Texas, holding debates, the 3 candidates, Dawn Huffines, Alan West, and Chad Prather. So in that process, we all had each other's personal cell phone numbers, and we were all communicating. It was already very well known that Dawn Huffines was very wealthy, and of all the candidates who had the biggest war chest, it was Dawn Huffines. That was...
Я работаю педагогом-организатором в Карабашской общеобразовательной школе номер 1.
See, the skip button went up to the top on
land
this one.
investments.
All right, 5
Now, as all
seconds
of you
back.
know, now it has come out that Dawn Huffines understood by all, and he got a lot of his money through land investments. Now, as all of you know, now it has come out that Dawn Huffines owns Zorro Ranch. Huge controversy. I get it. Huge controversy. And a lot of people have questions. A lot of people have tried to reach out to Dawn Huffines, has not really gotten any kind of response. So I want to clarify a few things here, because a lot of people are saying that the money went to victims, and that is something that he has also stated. So I want to clarify something about that. The money did not directly go to Epstein's victims. They bought the ranch in 2023. The victims' payouts went out in 2021. Money went to a fund, and money from other sales went to the same fund. The proceeds from the sale of Zorro Ranch in New Mexico are actually directed to his estate to fund the administration of the estate, which includes paying creditors, taxes, and lawsuits. And an attorney from the Epstein estate actually confirmed that this was true, that the sale was specifically to satisfy claims against the estate, and proceeds from his various properties has been used to fund the Epstein.
Stuff like this. You know, lawyers get rich off stuff like this. And it's disgusting. Lawyers make 10 times more than the poor victims do on stuff like this a lot of the time. Again, it's kind of why I don't have many positive things to say about them. There's not many of them who are worthwhile, who go out and try to help people who need help. If you can show me otherwise, I'm willing to look. I really am. Because I'd like to have a good human that's a good lawyer in my bag of tools.
Victim compensation program. The ranch was sold in 2023 for an undisclosed amount to a company that was tied to fines. The property was originally listed for $27.5 million in 2021 before the price was reduced. So the sale for that 8,000 acre property was meant
What'd
to...
you say, 7.5?
Before the price was reduced. So the sale for that 8,000 acre property was meant to be a large effort to liquidate fines. The property was originally listed for $27.5 million in 2021 before the price was reduced. So the sale for that 8,000 acre property
13.
was meant to be a large effort to liquidate Epstein's assets, which totaled over $500 million. And part of that money was supposed to settle with victims and pay off taxes and legal debt. The Virgin Islands settled with JP Morgan in 2022.
Wow. So that's a long video. I'm going to repost that for anybody who wants to go see it. And I will just label it wow. That's what I will put it as right now. Boom. Wow. If you want to see the whole thing. This is like a 9-minute video. I don't want to play the whole thing, but you get the gist of it. You know, what he was saying is actually not true. Now, he could have just misunderstood, right? That is possible. But I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know about that face, bro. I don't know about that face. Funny enough, you know what I also realized? Actually,
okay.
Having the biggest war chest and him being very wealthy.
I'm
why Turning Point is actually
leaning towards...
We don't know who the donors are when it comes to Turning Point.
Maybe Redacted got it wrong.
Who is doing very weird things, like Turning Point does.
Unless we can prove something else.
They are getting, or he is getting this endorsement because he also has donated to Turning Point.
Which I'm cool with.
You know, we don't know who the donors are. And honestly, how could you not trust a face like this?
That's why I say you got to... This isn't verifying it. This is just looking at two different stories. So this is not verification. So you know. But there's so much information out there that you have to pick and choose what you verify, because once you start to dig into stuff, it can consume your entire life and your entire day trying to verify stuff. That's why you have to find good, trustworthy sources. And realize that you have to continue to vet those sources continuously. This is what we go over on Tradecraft for Life. So, but that's going to do it for now. And I appreciate you watching Tradecraft for Life. I will see you later.